So we're here at Color Fantasies,
Yes.
and who am I talking to?
Steve.
Alrighty. And so, how long has Color Fantasies been around here?
Color Fantasies has been open for 30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
That's about when I started collecting comics.
Oh, awesome.
We review indie comics. Can you tell us what are some good ones to really start getting into?
Some good indie comics. Let's see. We've got. I'm trying to think. Fuzz Bucket is very good. It's by a local guy who lived, I think, from Martinsburg. Let's see. Other indie comics are well, if you like the Image stuff, I count that as indie. Maestro's just started up, which is really cool. God Complex. I'm a big fan of the book Rat Queens and Curse Words. I think Birthright is awesome fantasy stuff. Saga, of course, is a classic. Basically anything by Image, I'm all about. But some other stuff that's off the beaten.
Well, let's kind of go into that a little bit because I kind of play kind of fast and loose with what's considered an indie comic. What do you consider an indie comic?
I consider an indie comic anything that's not published really by the big two, and anything that's creator owned and really has the love of the creator just poured into it. Something that's not, here's a character and you just have to write it.
See, because for me, Dark Horse and a little bit of IDW because they do a lot of licensed stuff.
Right.
But I mean, everybody has their little threshold, and I would just,
the licensed stuff I don't necessarily count as indie, which I would agree with you there, because it's that weird break where it's not the creators, when it's the creators owning something and really just pouring their heart into it. That's when I think it's indie. Something like Royal City, like what Jeff Lemire does.
Okay.
Even some Vertigo books I can count as indie sometimes.
Okay.
Videodrome is the best.
So my comic, Fuzz Bouquet, is about a monster who wants to be a cheesemaker, but his fur keeps falling off and falling into his cheese, and no one wants to eat his fuzzy cheese, so he's out of the job. So he decides instead to become a dragon slayer to try to pay bills. Unfortunately, he knows nothing about dragon slaying, and so he ends up on this haphazard, wild adventure, and that's pretty much how the story starts. And in the second issue, he ends up running into another character named Sagi Biscotti, who convinces him to go in yet another wrong direction into this haunted bakery.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it.
So where'd you come up with the idea for this?
It's kind of a combination of a lot of things that I was growing up with, a lot of at least the aesthetics, the monsters, the style, the art. The story itself, I like to call it a semi-autobiography, because I see myself as this character trying to accomplish things and also being very stupid trying to accomplish these things, having a day job and trying to make all of those things happen. So it's kind of, in a way, the theme of it kind of comes from my own experience, but the characters and the world are definitely combinations of all the things I sort of grew up with.
Okay. You self-published?
Yes, I self-published. Both issues were published through Kickstarter. The second issue was just published about a few days ago. Kickstarter completed about a month ago.
Nice.
And so far, so good. I'm hoping to have about 6 issues for the first story arc, and then go from there.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I thought the comic's for me, but this is for her because I've already seen this. So
He signed it. I'm like, where did you sign it? He goes right there on the cover. I'm like, oh, balls. It fits right in there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
My name's Kevin Cuff, and the 2 comics that I have are I'm the writer of is Full Moon Fredo, which is an all-ages adventure. It's kind of like a mix of Scooby-Doo and Indiana Jones. It's about a bumbling ghost hunter who wants to be a famous ghost hunter, but can't get over his fear of ghosts. And Oathbound is a fantasy western, so it's kind of like if you took Lord of the Rings and mixed it with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
That sounds pretty cool, actually. How long have you been into comics?
I've been making comics since 2013, so 4 years.
No, you self-published too, or?
I am. I also have something that is published coming out on Alterna Comics and
Nice.
in the anthology that comes out later in November. So I think it's like the 17th of November. The If Crime anthology comes out.
Alterna's really blown up lately.
Yeah, they've been blowing up with the newsprint stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea because it just kind of reminds me of being a kid.
I picked up the first 3 copies of The Chair the other day, when I was in here.
On the newsprint one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was reading it, going, wow.
It just feels like
Yeah.
nostalgia.
I used to really collect comic like in the '90s, and really started in the '80s, and it was just like, wow, this is like just brings back memories.
It does. You're correct.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Please hang up and try again.